This current AI revolution has a bitter lesson to it, and I want to teach you how to use it to your advantage. The whole point of this video is to teach you about the concept of the bitter lesson and how you can use it as a tool in your arsenal to beat your competitors and scale your AI service business. So first we have to start from basics. We have to talk about Richard Sutton. Who is Richard Sutton? He's an accomplished computer scientist, a Canadian computer scientist. And in 2019, he published a scientific paper called The Bitter Lesson. Okay, and so why does the scientific paper stand out from the rest of them? Because there's hundreds of thousands of them, not hundreds of thousands, hundreds and thousands of them published, on a yearly basis. Why does this one stand out from the rest? Well, it's because we are just now starting to see the things that he talks about be applied in the real world and come to fruition. And so here's what the bitter lesson is and how you can use it as a tool in your arsenal. Because if you don't understand this concept, somebody who does understand it will scale faster than you and beat you, which you do not want happening. And so what is the bitter lesson? Well, it basically says that the bitter lesson is that AI advances fastest by using general methods like search and learning that leverage growing computational power rather than relying on human knowledge, which helps initially but limits long-term progress. Okay, and so basically to boil that down to its core, it basically says that you always want to prefer scaling computation opposed to scaling with humans and human knowledge. And so why is this called the bitter lesson? Well, the bitter lesson is named for the humbling realization that AI researchers who favor human knowledge-based methods are consistently outperformed by compute-driven approaches like search and learning, causing disappointment as these less elegant solutions prove more effective with increasing computational power. Okay. And so, I'm going to talk about this later in the video, but, us human solutions that, center around human knowledge and, use humans as the primary source of knowledge are 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times can be beaten by, more scalable computational oriented solutions. Okay. And I'm going to give you examples and how it's being applied, in the real world today. And so there are numerous reasons and examples as to why this is true. First and foremost, the cost of compute is going down and is becoming much more accessible than ever. But that's not the only thing. You also have to factor in something called Moore's Law. And if you don't know what Moore's Law is, basically, Moore's Law refers to the observation that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles roughly every 18 to 24 months, leading to exponentially increasing computational power at lower costs. And the bitter lesson, Rich Sutton highlights that this exponential growth enables general-purpose AI methods like search and learning to outperform human knowledge-based approaches over time. And as they scale effectively with vast computational resources, that becomes available. Okay, and so what this is saying is that within this time period of 18 to 24 months, basically there's a large increase, there's an exponential increase in computational power. So not only is the cost of computation going down, the cost of compute, but the power of compute is rising. Okay, and so here's some of the earliest examples of the bitter lesson that happened, not within a business realm, not within the business world, but within the world of, chess and another board game called Go. Okay, and so the first example was in 1997. It was Kasparov versus Deep Blue in a chess match. If you don't know who Garry Kasparov was, I think at the time he was known as I don't know too much about chess, so please excuse me if I get this wrong. But I believe he was one of the greatest of all time, the greatest at the time. And in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov using massive computational search, illustrating the bitter lesson that compute-driven methods fueled by Moore's Law surpass human knowledge-based approaches in AI, despite researchers' resistance. And I don't know if Kasparov has ever lost a game up until this point, but he lost to a computer, which was huge. This was the first time in history that this happened, and it kind of opened the eyes of everyone on the planet that, hey, computers can beat humans at their own game. Okay, and then the second example is Lee Sedol versus AlphaGo, and this is in a game, in a board game called Go, which is extremely complex game, like super complex, way more complex than chess. And so in 2016, AlphaGo, which was the computer model that was playing the game, AlphaGo beat Go champion Lee Sedol 4-1 using compute-heavy neural networks and self-play, proving the bitter lesson that scalable computation driven by Moore's Law trumps human-crafted strategies despite researchers' resistance. Okay, so up until this point, computers have already been beating humans at their own game, but now computers are about to start, scaling and solving problems better than us humans can, and I'm about to show you exactly what that looks like. And so this was just the tip of the iceberg. Elon Musk realized early on that scaling with computation opposed to human knowledge was much more effective, and he actually faced this decision, the decision of either choosing a computation-based approach or human knowledge-based approach when he was developing the Tesla full self-driving system. Okay, and basically the two paths that he could have chosen, the first one was a sensor approach where they use expensive LiDAR sensors. They put it on the car and they, the sensors detect whether something's close or when it should stop. It was I don't know the full details of it, but it was a much more sensor-based approach opposed to an AI vision approach where they would put inexpensive cameras on the Teslas, or I believe they already had the cameras on the Teslas, and it was collecting the data, and the AI would learn off of this data for all the driving data that Tesla had, so it can learn, how does this person, when they see this, red rectangle or, whatever that shape is called, the stop sign, do they stop? When they see a stoplight, what do they do? When it turns green, what do they do? So they had tons of data. They mounted a camera on it, and they let the AI, the algorithm, learn from the data that they had. Okay, and so these were the two paths that Tesla was stuck between, and this is how Elon thought about it. And so everyone told Elon to use the LiDAR approach. But he knew that scaling with computer vision was much more effective opposed to using expensive sensors. And how did he arrive to this conclusion? Well, he did a first principles analysis on the problem. And this is how he thought about it. And this is the conclusion that he came to. We can summarize this in a series of tweets. He's made probably tens, if not hundreds of tweets on this problem over the years. But the three most compelling ones that I found was this first one. He said, vision became so good that radar actually reduced signal to noise ratio, so radar was turned off, okay? But the main part is humans drive with eyes and biological neural nets, which is basically our brains. So it makes sense that cameras and silicon neural nets are the only way to achieve generalized solution to self-driving. His thought process, and I got this from his biography, is that, if roads are designed for humans with eyes to drive on them, then if we can replicate that with a computer vision approach and that has the AI brain, then, why would it not be possible to achieve? And so he also said, did my best to warn people that LiDAR isn't optimal for cars. Roads are designed for biological neural nets and eyes, so digital neural nets and cameras will work best. And also, here's this other one where he's quoting this tweet where Elon famously said 6 years ago that LiDAR is a fool's errand, and many at the time were skeptical about his claim. Literally everyone was telling him to use LiDAR. He got into massive arguments at Tesla over this. Now it's becoming increasingly clear that Elon is right about the use of LiDAR. Sensor fusion is not optimal for autonomous driving, okay? And Elon said, but what do I know about technology? Okay, and it really all comes from Elon's ability to boil things down to its most basic components. And he looks at a road, he says, hey, if humans are able to, we have eyes and we have a brain and we're able to drive on this, then why can't we replicate this with a computer vision and an AI brain approach, which is exactly what they did. And they're launching the FSD program and the robotaxi program, which is going great. And so the modern day AI example of the bitter lesson is we can basically sum this up with Elon versus Mark Zuckerberg scenario. So at XAI, Elon said the goal is 50 million in units of H100 equivalent AI compute, but much better power efficiency online within 5 years. And just to kind of give you perspective, I believe XAI right now, their data cluster has maybe 50, 100,000. I think they're looking to scale up to 250, or maybe they already have 250, somewhere within that range of 50 to 250,000 H100s is where they're at right now. And scaling to 50 million is absolutely insane, okay? And so what is this? This is exactly a bet on compute. Okay, a fully scalable approach to solving a problem with more compute. Now, if we look at Mark Zuckerberg, what has his bet been on? Well, his bets have been more placed towards human knowledge. And so he's been, dropping anywhere, I think probably a few $1 billion right now, hiring a super team of AI players. Okay, and what is this? This is a bet on human knowledge. And I'm not saying it's a bad bet, but within those resources, where could the allocation have been? He paid a few $1 billion to purchase Scale AI and getting the insights that they derived from them, while Elon is over here betting on putting more H100s, scaling to 50 million with better power efficiency within 5 years, which is insane. And only time will tell who's going to win this race. And so how do you actually apply this concept to your own AI service business? Because I understand right now, everything in this video up until this point has been talking about, Elon developing the full self-driving Tesla system, him, adding more H100s to his data cluster. But how does it actually apply to people like me and you who are running online service businesses, helping local markets, helping, specific markets solve problems by selling AI infrastructure offers and implementing it into their business? And so what you want to do is you want to view any problem as an endless search task. Okay, and I know it's an endless scalable search task. I forgot to put the rest of it in here. I don't know what happened. But by framing problems as endless scalable search or learning tasks, you treat them as solvable through indefinite increase in computational power and general learning algorithms without over-relying on human curated rules and insights. And so here's an example of this, which is mainly the biggest problem that most people face, especially in the beginning of their business. The main constraint most of the time is getting leads. Okay. And so instead of hiring outbound setters to find and reach out to your leads, put money into ads. Okay. If you're hiring outbound setters, if you're hiring, VAs, appointment setters to find your leads and reach out to them, you're betting on human knowledge. If you're putting your money into ads, and ads are infinitely scalable, you can put as much as you want, but putting your money into ads, that's a bet on technology and compute. Okay. And so, to give you more insight into it, Meta has a ton of data, which not only means that they'll put your ad in front of your ideal prospect, but also in front of the person who's most likely going to book a call/buy from you. And this is how advanced their machine learning has gotten. And it's only going to get better from here. And so if we talk about the 4 forms of leverage, if you don't know what it is, leverage basically decreases or increases the amount of output you get for the input you put into the business. And there's 4 forms of leverage. It's code, so software; capital, money; labor, hiring a team of people; and media, which is content. So code, capital, labor, media, these are the 4 forms of leverage. And by running ads, you are leveraging code, which is one of the best forms of leverage along with capital, because it is a permissionless form of leverage, and you don't need permission to run ads. You can put in as much money as you would like as long as the ads comply with Meta's policy. And so pay ads instead of people. If you currently have appointment setters and you're betting on human knowledge, and if they're sending cold DMs to you, I would like you to take that money that you're paying those people and simply put it into ads. I guarantee you that a lot more people will hear and learn about your offer. And if you aren't paying anyone and you're doing outreach yourself, please, I would highly recommend you need to find a way to get capital. Get access to capital, and then put that money, even if it's $15 per hour, put that money into ads. Okay, the $15 per hour you make will allow you to reach more people than the amount of DMs you can send per hour. Always bet on compute and technology opposed to human knowledge, and do this across every facet of your business, every component in your business. Look at every component of your business and ask yourself, how can you make it more technologically oriented? For example, the fulfillment of your business, how can you make that more technologically oriented? For example, the onboarding, making the onboarding more scalable. You never want the onboarding to be the main constraint of your business. And so look at every aspect of your business and ask yourself, can you bet on compute opposed to human knowledge, so that way you can scale, be right more of the time, and also scale quicker. And so if you got any insight from this video, first link in the description is our completely free AI scaling specialist school community. I put all my YouTube flowcharts in there. This YouTube flowchart is going to be in there, and we have tons of insights coming out every day. Hundreds of AI founders, and they're all looking to take a piece of this massive AI revolution in there. If you want direct access to me, I'm in there, and I'll see you on the inside. Bye.